Hey guys, Will here. So today's video is a very, very difficult one, both for me personally, and I know that this is going to be a difficult video to watch for a lot of people within the sim racing community as well. So I apologize for this, but unfortunately, you know, this is something there's no right way of doing a video like this. This is completely uncharted territory for me. So I'm just going to do the best I possibly can to get through this and share this news with you guys. So unfortunately, one of my closest friends and one of the nicest guys in the sim racing community, one of the nicest people that you'd ever come across in life just generally as well, passed away during the last week or so. On the 22nd of March, William Marsh from Sim Racing Paddock passed away. Now, as I mentioned, he was one of my closest friends, and I've been in very close touch with his family since all of this happened, and they've asked me to share this news with you guys. It's a really difficult thing to do, but I want to honor him in the best way that I can, and I want to, you know, I guess, share this news with you guys because one of the things that has come out over the last week or so since this happened was, you know, his family didn't really know the full extent of just how much he meant to a lot of people in the sim racing community and how, you know, how much we valued him within this community. So, you know, it's been really quite comforting for them to learn about the impact that he did have on the sim racing community, and, you know, just that he had all of these friends, you know, all around the world that they didn't know about. So the first thing I wanted to do is share the announcement from his family themselves with you guys. I'm going to share this verbatim, so word for word with you guys. And then I guess I just wanted to talk a little bit more about the circumstances surrounding what's happened from my own personal perspective, because I was in quite close touch with him right up until the last moments. So yeah, I'm just going to read this out for you guys, and then we'll talk a little bit more about exactly, you know, the circumstances around it. So the announcement says, "Friends, to say our hearts are heavy is the understatement of our lives. It's with the deepest sorrow and heartbreak that we, William Marsh's family, tell you that he tragically and unexpectedly passed away in his sleep in the early morning hours of March 22nd, 2021. Will was so open about his life and his struggles. Please rest assured that he never gave up. He fought for life until the end, and his death was not by his own hand. We're still in deep shock as we mourn the unthinkable loss, truly heaven's gain. We have no doubt that he is in heaven with Jesus, as he was strong in his Christian faith. He is at perfect peace now, though we struggle so hard to find peace on our own. As we take steps forward, please keep us in your thoughts and prayers. Live your lives as beautifully as Will did. We'll be creating a Facebook group where you can share photos, memories, quotes, puns, jokes, and anything and everything about our wonderful Will. For now, though, it was all we could do to write this announcement. There's no right way to end this because it all feels so wrong. Again, please pray for us as we mourn together and cling to the fact that Will is at peace." So that was the announcement, and I know that it's quite vague in what it offers in terms of answers as to what's happened, but it does say that it wasn't by his own hand. Now, it was no secret to the sim racing community in general that Will did have some pretty deep struggles with mental health in general, depression and anxiety being the two key things there. This is something that he shared with me a lot personally, because as you guys know, this is something that I struggle with a lot as well. And he did have a couple of videos on his channel, which he did make the decision himself to remove a few months back now. But he did share quite a lot about his personal struggles and some of the things that he'd been going through, you know, throughout the last few years of his life. And yeah, as I mentioned, had become quite close with him over the last 18 months. We kind of became friends through, you know, initially he was kind of just reaching out to me, sending me messages, you know, about videos that he was working on. I guess I kind of was a bit of a mentor to him in a way, because I'm, you know, quite a bit older than he is. And we kind of just bounced ideas off each other, and we'd share ideas and share, you know, scripts for videos, and like I'd kind of give him advice and he'd give me advice. I'd help him create thumbnail images and, you know, things like that. We just became close friends. And, you know, it went from sort of, I guess, a business level relationship like that, where we were talking about, you know, content creation in general, to I guess just a deeper friendship in general. And I would honestly, even though we never met face to face, I would consider Will one of my closest friends, in the end days. So it's a massive loss for me personally, and something that I've really been struggling with over the last week, which is part of the reason why there hasn't been a whole lot of new content on the channel recently as well. But yeah, as I said, it was no secret that he was struggling with mental health quite seriously. And what you guys aren't aware of is that he was actually admitted to hospital about probably a month and a half ago now. He spent quite a number of weeks in hospital where he was going through a pretty rigorous diagnostic process, trying to figure out exactly what was going on. A lot of you would remember he did post a video on his YouTube channel probably about 3 months ago now, where he shared a lot of things that he'd been going through. And unfortunately, following on from that video, he was just really struggling, I guess, to figure out what his place was, not only in the sim racing community, but in life in general. He'd transitioned across to basically, doing YouTube as a full-time job like I do. And just trying to understand and I guess navigate that in a way that he could be proud of and that he felt was genuine. And in a way, I guess most importantly, that he felt like he was adding genuine value to the sim racing community in general. One of the last things that he shared with the community through his channel was that he felt like he kind of didn't know what he was doing and how he could really give back to the community that he felt had given him so much. So Will and I established quite a deep friendship through, sharing those struggles together, and I guess me trying to do the best I could to help him navigate through things and share my own experience with similar struggles with him. And, we got to the point where we were chatting pretty much 24/7. There was just a constant, continuous conversation going on, either via voice chats or, Messenger. We'd log on to each other's computers and help each other out with problems. And, we just became really, really close friends. So yeah, Will and I had been chatting pretty much constantly, for probably a good 6 months, up until the point about probably 2 months ago now, where he basically just completely disappeared off the radar entirely. Like, he dropped off Facebook, he dropped off YouTube, stopped making content, stopped replying to messages, stopped even seeing messages. He just completely disappeared. And at first I thought, okay, maybe he's just sort of taking a bit of a break, because, he had been sharing that he was struggling quite a bit. And, myself, as well as a few of his other close friends, had noticed a couple of things in his behavior in general that were a little bit concerning. He just seemed like he was really struggling and seemed like he was doing a lot of soul searching. He was talking a lot about reminiscing and, nostalgic type things. He was watching a lot of old movies from his childhood, reading a lot of old books, listening to old music, talking a lot about old video games, old sim racing titles that he'd played as a kid. And then he just completely disappeared. So at first I thought, okay, maybe he just needs a bit of a break from the community. Maybe he just needs a bit of a break in general. And I didn't really think too much of it at first. I kind of thought I'll give him the space that he's obviously wanting. I did send him a message saying, hey mate, are you okay? We haven't heard from you in about a week now, I think it was. And he didn't even see that message. So that was when I sort of started personally to become quite concerned. And I expressed that concern amongst a few friends in the content creator space that I know he was quite close with as well. And they all kind of expressed similar concerns to me as well, that, he hadn't been responding to messages, and that some of the things that he'd been saying up until that point were quite concerning. So myself and a few of his other friends reached out to his mother. We actually found his mum on Facebook and sent her a message. And she told us that he'd been admitted to hospital after having some sort of a breakdown. Now, there's not really a whole lot of detail around exactly what happened there, and it's not really my place to ask what happened exactly, but basically the long and the short of it was that he ended up in a mental health care hospital where he was receiving care. He was, undergoing a lot of testing and, diagnostic type stuff to try and figure out exactly what was going on and to try and get him back on the good path. Now, I was keeping quite close touch with his mother throughout that process. And one of the things that she allowed me to do, which I was extremely thankful for, was to call him in the hospital. So I was keeping in touch with him every 3 days. I rang up the hospital, spoke to him the first time, and he he sounded extremely depressed. Like he just sounded like he didn't really have a whole lot to be excited about. Like he just sounded really down in the dumps in general. And I asked him what he'd like me to do to try and help him. If anything, I said, would you like me to call you every day? How can I help you? And, try to sort of talk about positive things, try to sort of share some of the good things that were going on in the community, and, tell him that we miss him and all that kind of stuff. And he asked me to check in with him every 3 days, which I did. And look, to be honest with you guys, he was sounding quite depressed and quite anxious. He was also quite sick at the time as well. He had COVID symptoms, so he was going through the testing process to find out whether he had COVID. And I know that he was very anxious about that as well. But I called him every 3 days for the duration of the hospital stay from the point where I found out about it. So probably about a week and a half. And he did sound like he was, starting to take the right steps. He was starting to get some answers. He was starting to think a little bit more positively. He was starting to look forward to getting out and, getting into making videos and, just getting on with his life, I guess, off the back of whatever the breakdown was that he had. And so, yeah, the arrangement was made that he was going to be coming out of hospital and going to live with his family again, which was great. And I actually spoke to him on the phone the day before he was due to get out of hospital, and he still sounded quite anxious and quite rattled, like he was, I guess, scared and confused, but he was sounding quite positive. And that was quite encouraging to me. And that was the last time that I heard his voice. He actually, and this still hurts a lot, but the last thing he actually said to me was that he loved me. He said thank you for caring about him and for, sharing the concern. And he said, I don't want this to sound weird, but I just want you to know that I love you. And I told him that I loved him too. And that was the last time that I heard his voice. And that's really hard. But so he got out of hospital the next morning, and the arrangement was that he was going to go and move in with his mum and his family, and they were going to be taking care of him. And I did speak to him on Messenger through just text chat. When he got out, he was again sounding quite positive. And just looking at my phone now, this is still difficult because the conversation that I was having with him was one of the last conversations in my Messenger list here. But one of the last things that he was doing was expressing his concern about having COVID potentially, and he was worried about making the people that were taking care of him sick. He was worried about making his mum sick specifically. And I messaged him. I said, don't burn yourself up over stuff that you can't control. And he said, yeah, but I'm still worried. We'll see what happens. And I said, that's all you can do. If you've already had symptoms for 2 weeks, then chances are that you're on the mend now anyway. So, try not to stress about things that you can't control. And then I messaged him later on that day, and he said to me, sounds like I'm negative, which is good news. And that was the last that I heard from him. So I responded, that's great news. And he never actually saw that message. So the last message that he saw from me was just discussing around the negative COVID result. And then that was the 19th of March, which was my 10-year wedding anniversary. That was the last time that I spoke to him. And then I didn't hear from him for a couple more days. It was the 23rd of March. So between the 19th and the 23rd of March, I didn't hear from him again. But I figured, he was at home. He was being looked after by his family. And then I sent him a message just asking him how he was doing. Never got a response. And yeah, when I didn't get a response out of him, I became quite concerned again, because I'd been speaking to his mum quite a lot and sort of, going through the whole process with her and, trying to, I guess, come up with ways that we could help him together as well, and sort of, I guess, be a bit of a united front in the way that we were communicating, in the way that we were sort of trying to get him thinking more positively in general. And then she suddenly disappeared as well and stopped responding to my messages. So at that point, I did become quite concerned. I didn't really know what to do, to be honest with you guys. I didn't have any dialogue with any of his other family members. So I was kind of starting to sort of think about what to do next. I knew that he was out of hospital, so it wasn't really appropriate for me to be calling the hospital anymore either. And then I got a message from or a comment that I'd posted on Will's wall from his sister asking me to message her. And that was the point where I became really concerned. So I sent her a message and she shared with me the news that he'd passed away. So I guess there's a lot of questions, and unfortunately none of us at this point in time are able to answer those questions. What I can tell you is that the family have told me that this wasn't by his own hand. Obviously, I don't want to hide the fact that he was struggling a lot with mental health. I think that's a really important part of the story because, I know a lot of you guys struggle with mental health issues as well, and I think it's really important. I think that he would want for people to know that he was struggling. I don't think that he would want people to, just think that everything was fine. And I think that, for me at least, part of his legacy is that he was somebody that I could share my struggles with. He was somebody that was open about his struggles, and I think that that's so important in the community in general. We need to be more open about the things that we're struggling with. We need to be able to talk, as mates and share those experiences with each other, because sim racing in general is a creative outlet as well as a frustration outlet, and just a way for people to express themselves for so many people. And we need to remove the stigma around this kind of thing. We need to be able to talk and share. But at the same time, I do think that it's really important to, understand that this wasn't something that he did himself in the end as well. So, we can at least take comfort in that, I suppose. But the circumstances around it was basically he had moved back in at home. He was living with his sister, and they were just trying to spend time together, kind of like we were talking about before. They were, reminiscing on times of past, their childhoods together. They were watching a lot of old movies together. They were, listening to music. And the day before he actually passed away, they went out to Sonoma Raceway, which was close by to where they lived. And, they just went out and sat by the racetrack, watched the cars going around and just chatted about, their childhoods. And, it's comforting to know that the last day that he had was a nice, enjoyable day that he had with his family, and that, he was, thinking about racing, thinking about cars, and thinking about the things that he loved right up until the very end. And from there, basically what happened was he went to bed that night, and he was found unresponsive the next morning, and we don't know exactly what happened at this point. Obviously, as his family do get more details, they will share that information, and I'll pass that on to you guys as well. But that is basically what we know for now. So we know that, he was going through a lot of struggles, but, his last few days were happy and positive, and that he was on a positive path forward. And, we know that he was being cared for. But I guess the most important thing for you guys is that, I want you guys to know that he cared so deeply about the sim racing community. And I think that was one of his biggest struggles, was that he was trying to find his place, and he was trying to make sure that he was using the platform that he had, with his audience on YouTube, to find ways to give back to the community. He really felt passionate about that. He really wanted to use that platform to make sim racing in general better. And, I think that's so important. So I really hope that that's, I guess, the way he was remembered, the way that he's remembered is somebody that was trying to have a positive impact, somebody that was, willing to put himself on the line to do the right thing so many times. And he copped, I've seen so many instances where he copped a lot of flack for, speaking the truth and speaking his mind. And I know that was, honest, trying to be honest and trying to be completely open with the community was one of the things that he struggled with the most, because, it is really hard to to just speak your mind. And, it's always in the back of your mind, well, how are people going to react? Am I going to get ridiculed? Am I going to get belittled or, teased or whatever? Am I going to experience bullying for just, being open and honest and vulnerable, I guess? But I think that was one of the things that I admired about Will the most, was just his willingness to make himself vulnerable to the community, make himself vulnerable to the world. And, not afraid to speak his mind, not afraid to, just be himself. And I think that's something that I have learned a lot from him personally. That's something that I really look up to him with. And yeah, I'm just absolutely devastated with this news. And I know a lot of you guys will be as well. But, as I said, we will continue to share more information as it comes to light. But it was just important that I share this news with you guys today. I know it's really hard, and, as I said, there's not really a right way of doing this. It's really difficult, but, his family asked me to share the news with the community. And as I said before, it's only sort of been through chatting with them recently that they've really come to understand just how much he did mean to the sim racing community. And, they do take a lot of comfort in that as well, just knowing that he was somebody that had an impact and somebody that meant a lot to so many people all around the world. So I'm going to leave it at that for now for you guys. There's still a lot of things that we need to figure out. We don't have access to the YouTube channel. We don't have access to the Discord community or anything like that at the moment. So we're going to try and figure out all those things. There's a lot of loose ends that do need to be, I guess, tied up and resolved. But we'll figure out the best way to do that and the best way to make further communication with you guys through the community. And I'll be helping his family out with trying to organize those things as much as I can as well. But for now, I just wanted to share this news with you guys because, obviously his family has asked me to do that. But yeah, for those of you who knew Will personally, I'm really sorry to be sharing the news with you. It's really difficult news, I know. And, as I said, there's no right way of doing this, so I just needed to get it out. So on that note, I would love it from you guys if you could just, I guess, share a comment below this video on how Will and his videos and his involvement in the sim racing community has impacted your life. And, I guess I want to try and share a little bit of positivity here, because although it is, horrible news and there's no way around that, I do really want to try and find, I guess, some positivity in the situation. And I think one of the things that we can do as a community is help his family and the people that are close to him personally to understand just how much he did mean to us. And I think a great way that we can do that is by, just sharing in the comments below the video. I know that his family will be reading those comments, and it will mean it'll mean the world to them to just know the impact that he had on the sim racing community as a whole. So please do share some positive things down in the comments below. And yeah, I'm going to leave it at that, guys. There's really not a whole lot more that I can say at this point in time. I'm still processing all of this myself. To be honest with you guys, it still doesn't really feel real to me. There's still a lot of answers that we need to find, and until we have those answers, I think it is going to be a bit of a struggle to process all of this. I just keep on kind of having these flashbacks to conversations that we've had, and I keep on sort of expecting that my phone is just going to buzz and it'll be a message from Will telling me about the next video that he's going to be working on or something like that, and asking, can you help me with a thumbnail? Have you got any suggestions for this? Or, hey, Will, I watched this video, enjoyed it, but thought you could have done this better. And, I'm just going to miss his contribution and his friendship. And, just knowing that somebody that I cared about so deeply is gone, and somebody that, was one of the few people that I could share, I guess, my journey with, and would actually understand what it's like to, do what we do. And yeah, I guess from a personal perspective, I'm just really going to miss my friend. So I'm going to leave it at that, guys. I'll see you again soon. It'll probably be a few days before I post another video. To be honest with you guys, there's been so much going on the last few weeks that, I haven't been able to share with you any of this stuff that's been going on, because we were still waiting for some answers and, for families to make announcements and things like that. So yeah, I'm going to take a few days now to, I guess, process all of this, reset a little bit, and hopefully come back stronger. And yeah, I want to make sure that from this point on, everything that we do with this channel is something that Will would be proud of. I guess that sounds a little bit corny and a little bit cheesy, but I really want to do my best to honor his memory. And yeah, so Thanks for watching the video, guys. Please do leave a comment down below for his family as well. And I'll see you again soon. Bye.